Hello everyone. This is a tutorial on how to host a dynamic website on DigitalOcean. This website is going to be built on the LEMP stack. I'm sure you're already aware, but just in case you're not, LEMP stands for Linux, Nginx, MySQL, and PHP. I'm going to be hosting it through a droplet, but you can also host a dynamic website on an app platform. Although, from what I'm aware of, it is easier to set up a dynamic website on an app platform, especially if you're not familiar with your terminal, or you just don't want to use your terminal a lot, because we're going to be using our terminal a lot in this tutorial. But the cheapest payment plan is $10 monthly for using the app platform, at least right now. And the cheapest for a droplet is $4. We are going to be using $6, a $6 a month plan, but it's still cheaper. And if you're cheap like me and you want to save $4, hosting it through a droplet is a viable option. So just a forewarning before we get into this tutorial, I may not be showing best practices. I am just showing what worked for me. I struggled to find a comprehensive guide on hosting a dynamic website through a droplet. Most guides that I've seen, or most tutorial videos, have been for a static website. So I'm just showing you a collection of knowledge from all the articles that I've read to try and figure out how to host it through a droplet, how to connect a MySQL database and have that successfully running. So, with that being said, we're going to start a new project. I'm going to name it Roly Poly Farm. I'm going to create that in Skip for now. Alright, and so we created the project, and now we're going to spin up a droplet. The first option it gives you is to choose a region. I'm choosing San Francisco. You may want to see if different regions offer you cheaper options, or cheaper payment plans. And I'm going to be choosing the regular CPU option. And here we go. It goes down to $4 a month, but I'm going to be choosing $6 a month. And there's a reason. If you're using the $4 a month plan, you will not be able to connect your MySQL database. That is because this offers more memory. I figured out the hard way. If you are running with $4 a month, it will send an error. It won't outright tell you exactly why it's not running, but it's for this reason. You need to choose a $6 monthly plan. And next is going to have you choose your authentication method. So there's two options, to use an SSH key and to use a password. Both are pretty straightforward. A password, you just type in your password, and then it's going to ask you to verify every time you log into your terminal. It's going to just prompt you for your password. SSH key is pretty easy to set up. It's just a key pair, a public and a private key. The private stored on your local device, and the public will be uploaded here. And it will use that to authenticate you every time you log into the server. So we're going to do the SSH key because that is a little bit more secure. I'm going to do new SSH, and then it gives you some instructions on the side here so you're not going in blind. You can generate a key using PuTTY, but we're just going to be using our terminal, so we're going to copy this, bring up command, and paste that in here. And that's going to generate a key pair. It's asking me to overwrite because I have a test key already in the .ssh folder, which I'm not using, so I can overwrite it. No passphrase, and there's some ASCII art. Alright, so now we need to go to the .ssh file, our folder, and find the public file, which is right here. And I'm going to open it in notepad, select all that and copy it, and we're going to paste it into there and name it something like test key. Alright, now we're going to select that. And that's it for setting up the droplet. I'm going to create that and give it a minute to spin up. Alright, now that the project has successfully spun up, we are going to grab this IP that it gave us. And right now, if we were to put the IP in the browser, nothing is going to show up because nothing is being served, or there's no web server right now. We won't be able to see anything. But now we can log in using our SSH key, root at IP. And this is the first time authenticating the host. So we're going to say yes, we want to continue connecting. It'll only do this once. Alright, now we are in our server. So there are a few things that we need to do first. First, we want to update our packages before we install things. Alright, good. Now we are going to be installing Nginx. So do that. Yes. Alright. We are going to start Nginx if it hasn't started already. And then see if it properly started. So alright, it is active and running. That's exactly what we want to see. We know it's working now. Now we also want to look at the PHP version that our server is using. So here it is right here. 8.3. This is important to keep track of because we're going to be changing one or two things, and we'll need to know the version number. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to update again. And we're going to install something called PHP 8.3. 8.3 is the version that I'm using, but it may be different for you. And then we're going to do fast CGI process manager. We're going to install that. Yes. Might take a little bit. There's a lot to install. Alright, there we go. Now, if we go to our IP, we should see the Nginx default landing page. Whenever you install Nginx, it's automatically going to create this page, and this is where it automatically routes you to. So now, I'm going to show you where in the files it's actually traveling to. Go here. Here it is. So this is the HTML file that's being run. That's appearing right here. Index, Nginx, Debian, HTML. So this is the same area, the same directory we want to upload our files. I'm going to be showing you how to upload your folder using Github. I would recommend using Github just to store your files just in case your computer breaks. My computer is rusty and dusty and old and could just give out at any time. So it is nice. It gives you a little bit of security to have it on the cloud, and it's pretty simple to upload everything to GitHub if you haven't used it before. But I would assume that you are already familiar with GitHub. So this is my repo. Just have a few files in it. We're going to grab the URL right here and go back here. And this should be pretty familiar to you if you've used GitHub at all. It's just going to be git clone and then the URL. And there we go. There's our repo. And it has everything in it. So now, if we go back and reload this website, it's still going to show the landing page, which is to be expected because it is still routing us to this file right here, sending us to this directory and to this file. So what we need to do is we need to change this, the default path. We can do that by going out and going here. And as you can see, there's a default file. We're going to use nano editor to get into that default file. This is what we want to look at. So we just added one folder, and our index file is in that folder, so we need to add it onto the directory, roly-poly farm. And it says right here, add index.php to the list if you're using PHP. We are using PHP, so we're going to just add that to the list, PHP. And if your index file is named something other than index, you would type that instead. And then server name, we will look at this a little bit more when we talk about domain names. So now we're going to write out the file. Whoa, what just happened? Oh. So right now we're going to write out the file and exit. And then we're going to reload in Nginx. There we go. Now if we hard refresh this. Okay. So what's happening here is that it's not changing the page at all. We want it to change the page. It's not doing that. But it is downloading a file. So if we were to open that file, we would see that it's our PHP file. So it's not displaying it. It doesn't know what to do with it. So instead it's downloading it. Now it's doing this because Nginx doesn't know how to manage a PHP file. And to configure it so it understands how to manage a PHP file, you need to go back into the default and uncomment a few lines of code. Right here. This block right here. We're going to uncomment this, and fast CGI pass, and also the bracket down here. One other thing you're going to need to do, you're going to need to change the PHP version, because if it's not in line with the PHP version you're using, like it's here, it's using 7.4, but my server is using 8.3, I need to change this right here. I will change it in a minute. My terminal just froze, so I need to reload it again. Sometimes this happens. I don't know if this is, I think this is probably more of a my computer kind of issue. So we're going to actually just pop out of this and go back in. Okay. So we're changing this to the version that we're using, which is 8.3. And we are also going to uncomment this block of code right here. And that's it. Now we can write that out and leave. And reload Nginx again. So now let's see if it works. I'm going to hard refresh. And yay! It shows up. Okay, so right now, all we're seeing is a static website. We're not connecting to any database, but that is what we want to do. So we're going to go back to the terminal. We're going to run the update again. And we are going to install two more things. First, MySQL server. Yes. Which may take a little bit. It's taking its sweet time. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and start that. We're going to make sure that it's running correctly. It is. Yay! Alright, this is what we want to see. Okay. So now, what we're also going to install is PHP 8.3 in my case, MySQL. Now, what we're going to do is run through MySQL secure installation. So it's going to be asking us what we want our passwords to look like for our MySQL accounts. Yes. There are 3 levels: low, medium, and strong. I'm going to be choosing medium, which is number 1. And we aren't going to be creating a password for root right now, because root is authenticated with auth-socket, so we don't actually need any password. It will be asking us other questions. We're going to just hit yes for all of this, unless you want to test database and anonymous users, which you most likely won't need, so you can just hit yes for everything and bypass all of that. Now we're going to sign into our root account. Like this. We don't need a password, so we enter nothing. Alright, and we are in the account. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new user. So we're going to create a new account. We're going to create an admin account, create user. Admin. It can be anything. You can name it anything, but I'm naming it admin. Then we're going to get our IP. Grab that. Identified with MySQL native password. This is just, you would want to say identified with MySQL native password if you plan on any time in the future connecting PHP-MyAdmin. Otherwise, you can just forego all of this. And then type in your password. So we're going to do a really secure password, just for testing purposes. And is following all the standards that you initially agreed to with the medium password, or if you chose low or strong and used to follow all those standards. So we're going to do that. Alright, it's been added. And since we're in here, we can also see what databases exist already, which is nothing but the standard ones that every database naturally builds when it first sets up your account. So we're going to create a database. And we're going to call it poly. Oh, nope. Okay. I thought my terminal kicked me out again. Okay. Create database poly data. Alright. And now we can go into, yeah, actually we'll go ahead and do this now. We're going to go into that database, use poly data. Database changed. We can see the tables. There's no tables in there, but if you need evidence, there we go. We don't have any tables. So you have two options right now. You can create all the tables following MySQL syntax straight in the terminal. If you like doing that, you do you. Or you can export it from a different area. So, like, I created a small table already in XAMPP. XAMPP is actually what I usually use first to create my website and to test the database before I actually host it. And so I will bring you, actually, I don't think I have it running yet. Here we go. I do have the tab pulled up, but we need to reload it. Alright. And so here is poly data. We're going to go to the table that I want to export. Export that. I've actually already exported it before, just as a test beforehand. So we're going to go to the original one that I already exported. I'm going to open it as Notepad just to make sure everything looks good, and it does. So you'll be selecting all of this. Select all and copy. So we got that copied, and now we can just paste it straight into the terminal. Everything looks good. We did get one warning. That's just because setting a length to integer is being deprecated, I believe, but it's not breaking anything, so it's fine. It's just what PHP-admin initially does. Whenever it sets up an integer, it sets it to like a maximum length of 11. Alright, so we can show tables again, and that table is now there, and if we select all from fact, there we go. We have all the data in there. So, last thing we need to do while we're in the MySQL account is to grant permissions to the account we just made, the admin account. And we're going to do that by saying grant, and then you have the permissions here, or the privileges. All we need for this account is to select. All it's going to be doing is selecting information from the database. But if you wanted it to do more, you could do insert, update, delete, etc. You'd have it all listed there. We're just doing select. On database, oh, my terminal froze again. My terminal has had enough, or my computer. I think running OBS and having all these tabs up is stressing it out. So what's going to happen is I'm going to exit out and I'll come back in a minute. Alright, we're back. I'm going to do this fast before my terminal freezes again. We're going to choose the table, database and table that we want to grant these privileges. So poly data fact to admin at that IP. Alright, and so the privileges have been granted. Now we just need to run flush privileges, if I can spell it. There we go. Nice. That's all we need to do. Now we can get out of here. Next, we're going to be going back to our index.php file. I'm changing a few things. Okay, so I already have MySQL connection set up, but it's connected to the local host because I was running this in XAMPP before. So we're going to be changing this, and we're not going to be putting in the IP, the username, the password all in this file. To make it more secure, we're going to be accessing server variables. So it's going to look like this. Okay, so we have the host, the username, the password, and the name of the database. That's all we need. So we can go ahead and write that out and exit. We can go ahead and test this file, PHP index. We're going to test it, we're going to run it inside of our terminal, and it's going to give us an error. And the error is going to be is it doesn't know what DB host, DB user, all these variables are within the server. We can look at PHP info to see all the server variables. These are all of them. And DB user, DB host, none of that is stored anywhere because we haven't set it yet. We need to set it in a few locations. The first location is going to be here. It's going to be in this folder, which looks like a lot, but we're only looking for this environment file. So we're going to do sudo nano environment. We only have one other environment variable in here right now, but that will change. We can add 4 more. So db host, and we can write that out. And now we are going to reload that environment file by doing source environment. Okay. Now, while we're also here, Where was it? We need to go to a few more places. We need to go to PHP, then your version of PHP, and then FPM, and then pool directory. Should be in there. Yeah, www configuration. Nano editor once again. You're going to be looking for one specific thing. Well, guess whose terminal crashed again? This is making it the third time? My computer is really sick of my crap. It wants to be done for the day. Okay, be back in a minute. Here we are again. It's like I never left. Gonna run through all of this. And what we want is right here, clear environment. We want to uncomment that. And what we're also going to do is taking the environment variables that we just set and moving them into the PHP server variables as well. Alright, that looks like everything. Save that, exit out. And now we need to restart FPM. There we go. I think I did that correctly. Let me see. You know what? I'm gonna be extra sure. Just in case. Just in case. I think it's the same thing. There we go. Okay. We need to make 2 more stops. Let's go back first. Back a little bit more. Then too far. Right here. Oop. Oh no. Right here, I'm gonna put a handy dandy print. The best way to debug your code. So, we're gonna see if this shows up. Server, db user, and that should just print admin. We're gonna see. If we hard refresh. Yeah, okay. So, the web server is reading the server information, but if we were to do PHP information, Oh, it is showing up. It's showing up on the server too. Hold on a minute. Okay. Alright, no, it is working. Good. So it's working both in the terminal and the web server. And as you can see here, where was it? We've got the host, the password, we have all the others in there too. The user, and I'm sure we have the name, the database name in there as well. So everything is showing up. It's showing up on the web server, it's showing up in the shell. This is great. We are running into an exception where it's refusing the connection. So there is one thing that we need to do, another file that we need to go into. We need to go back out to this. Let's see. Yeah. And we're going to be editing this file right here. MySQL D. So nano editor. And here we go. Find address. It has the local address right now. All we need to do is replace it with this. Save that. Exit. And now restart MySQL. Okay. Now, we're going to go back again. Really, all this is a lot of jumping back and forth between directories, as I have shown you. Okay, we're going to test the file again. We're going to run it. And now it works. So that was the final thing. And now it should be working here as well. So we're going to hard refresh. There we go. So it is successfully entering the database, and oh, I still have that print statement there. We can go back and fix that if we want to be perfectionists. But it is technically working now, so I'm going to just do that because it's going to bug me. Okay. There we go. And I have this set up so it is selecting a random fact, a random row from the table each time. So now if you ever wanted to know anything about roly-polies, now you know some weird facts. But yeah, that is all successfully set up. The last thing we're going to be looking at is the domain name. So we can go back to that default file. And this right here is where you would put in your domain name. So, for example, we'd just do like rolypolyfarm.com and save that. There we go. And exit out and then reload. As we do, sudo service reload. There we go. It will not work right now. So if I were to do rolypolyfarm.com, nothing's going to show up. And the reason why nothing is showing up is because we haven't bought the domain name. So we have it set up on here, but it won't work yet. What you need to do is go to some site that sells domain names and hook that up. Like for instance, I bought some of my domain names through Squarespace, and then it will just ask you for the IP of whatever site you want to connect it to. And then if you already have the server address already set up in your server, that should connect, and then it should be all fine. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for sticking around, and hopefully this was helpful to someone.